Welcome back to another episode of Out of Home Insider, the loudest voice in out of home. Today's guest is none other than Shane Hutton. You might remember Shane from a few months ago. Shane is the founder of TastyAd, but secretly you might not have known he's also got another company called Billboard for Me. It's one of the most inexpensive, easiest ways to get up on a billboard for a day or two, for a birthday, for an anniversary. So we talk about that side of the enterprise over there in the land of the Huttons. You've got TastyAd, Billboard for Me, Billboard stuff. So many good things that we talk about there. But specifically, today's episode are about tactical things you can do as a salesperson in leading the creative conversation. Creative sells space. So this episode is all about campaigns and how you can bring more ideas to the brands that you want to work with, more ideas to the brands that you're already working with to create even more value from the relationship that you've invested so much in. So sit back, relax, enjoy this episode with Shane Hutton. And without further ado, let's go.
Welcome everybody to the Out of Home Insider Show, a podcast like no other, hosted by the one and only Tim Rowe. Get ready to have some knowledge dropped on you and to be entertained, because nothing's more valuable than food for your brain. So sit back, relax, we're about to dive in as the best industry podcast is about to begin.
Shane Hutton, I'm excited that you're back. And, as sometimes happens in the lead up as we're getting ready to press record, it's like, wait, don't say anything more. I got to press record, which happened here. So I think that this is going to be a conversation that the folks should definitely get excited about. We're going to talk about a lot of like practical and tactical stuff, but how are you? Welcome back.
Doing great. Glad to be back.
It's good to see you back. Yeah. And second time returning guest, this time with some fresh swag too. If you're not watching this, you've got to at least go check the thumbnail, because Shane's got some fresh swag, which you know what? Plug this swag out of the gate. Plug the swag. Where do folks? It's billboardstuff.com, right?
That's right. Yeah. And
I can get all sorts of stuff at billboardstuff.com if I love billboards. I don't know if we can get that hat, but you got a ton of swag over there.
Well, yeah, you can get this one on billboardforme.com. But
okay, all right. Two plugs. Let's go. Billboard for Me is different than Billboard Stuff. And we're going to talk about kind of what all that stuff is. But the thing that you said in the lead up that kind of justified the we got to press record now button was, you said everybody needs billboards. And for a little bit of context, what we were talking about was how, if anything, 2 years of being locked inside of our houses really created kind of this not just a need to get out of home, but this resurgence, this revitalization of, depending on our local economy, depending on our local community, kind of this return to local. And then you said everyone needs billboards, and you started to talk about why. I was like, we gotta press record. So here we are. Why do everyone, I don't know which way grammatically is, why does everyone or why do everyone? Either way, answer that question, Shane Hutton. Yeah. Why do people need billboards?
So anybody in out of home, if you're a media owner or, involved programmatically, or even the people that build the billboards, the guys that are out there putting structures up. Our bread and butter is the general public, because if those people weren't looking at the ads, then we would have nothing. So I think maybe that goes unnoticed a little bit, or we don't, in the industry, maybe we just kind of forget or don't think about it. But those are the people that are watching the ads and causing advertisers to buy billboards and out of home. So basically, what we're trying to do is just kind of get them more involved in out of home. So that's what we're doing with Billboard for Me. So,
and we see some markets and media owners do a great job of this.
Yeah.
And taking care of that local market and local, attention, as it were, right? Really kind of curating the farm and taking care of the crops. And I'm going to show you good content and great creative. How important is that to put up good creative, and maybe something that there being a responsibility to not only your plant and the brand, but also to the community? Because if you keep putting up garbage creative, people are going to stop paying attention. Simple things like that really, really do make a difference. And you're helping media owners to be able to do more of that with some of the products and some of the solutions that you mentioned already. But maybe we can break that down a little further. And how are you helping to solve that? Because maybe I'm a smaller operator, I don't have a creative director, or maybe I'm just getting started, I don't know where to start. How do you help media owners to do what you're suggesting they do?
So having worked, right in the middle of the billboard industry for the past 11 years, really the issue that we've seen there is if anybody that's not a business wants to do a billboard ad for, they want to welcome somebody home from the hospital, or, from anywhere, or they want to do a happy birthday ad, or they want to ask somebody to marry them. They want to just say happy anniversary. We do a lot of like memorials and stuff like that. But the issue was, by the time they contact the billboard company, that order's got to go through, an account executive, and then paperwork's got to be done. Then it's got to go through billing. Then it's got to go to the creative department. And it's a lot of steps for somebody that's going to do a short little, 1 day or 1 week.
A hard way to say happy birthday. I can just go buy a card and put a stamp on it, send it to you. Target gift card. That's what everybody gets. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's certainly not accessible or easy. And okay, so let me play devil's advocate though. Me as the media owner, I can see the community value for being able to make the billboards accessible to folks to be able to do things like that. And maybe I'll take your couple $100 to run it for a day or two or what have you. But that's not the bread and butter of my plant. That's not how I make my money as an operator. So I guess, how do you make it so that can be offered as a product for the, that media company in that market? How do you make that a marketable product for them so that they can recognize that revenue or make it accessible to folks? How do you make all those things work together?
So any media owner that's got available space, if they're getting extra money without having to do anything at all, versus that slot or space on their digital board just sitting there, then that's a bonus anyway. But doing ads for the public, like birthdays and anniversaries and all of these things, they get the community more involved, and they start looking at the boards more. When they see, their family members or their friends up there, they start looking more. They gives you
good reason to pay attention.
Yeah, that's good for your advertisers, right? More people looking at
great point.
So
sure, my grandparents clipped out every newspaper clipping that I ever got into, maybe except for the arrest record ones. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's that same logic, right? Like, hey, when there's a reason to pay attention, people will pay attention, and you're giving them a reason to pay attention because it's particularly relevant to them, which then has intrinsic value for the advertisers behind them. And that obviously makes sense. I mean, that's TV advertising. Anyone who's ever spent $1 in TV, you're buying it. Why? Against eyeballs who are watching content, right? Like, I know I actively have your attention. So it's that same logic, and I think very wisely applying it to a model that is, kind of the ultimate broadcast channel, especially in a world where media consumption is so fragmented. So okay, so I'm sold. I'm convinced this makes sense for me as a business. Now, how do I operationalize it? How do I be able to do these things without sucking up a bunch of people's time and slowing things down with, wishing grandma a birthday?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, that's where our platform comes in. Basically, everything is done online and it's automated. So aside from the review process, nobody really has to do anything. So they just basically get get a revenue from it. The end user, which is, I want to go online and I want to buy a birthday or an anniversary ad for my wife. I go to our website, billboardforme.com, and then there's an ordering system on there, and I do it all online and I'm done. And then the ad plays, and and that's it. So really, as a billboard owner, you can be as involved or if as much as you want. But that's really up to each individual owner. But would you rather have a card for your birthday or a 48-foot bulletin?
It's a loaded question asking me, Shane.
I know.
Of course I want the 48-foot wide bulletin. Okay, so super straightforward. I think then from the consumer side, was billboardforme.com to be able, or is it billboards plural or billboard
it's singular? I think
billboard for me. So so maybe that's our jumping off point. This isn't competitive to Vistar. This isn't going to be the platform I use to run my national billboard buy programmatically. No. This is, I'm trying to buy a billboard to wish my spouse a happy anniversary, to surprise my friend, to celebrate a new birth. This is the same as taking out an ad in the local newspaper for one day to say, hey, you turned 10, congratulations. Yeah. Except it's a billboard in way cooler.
It's the modern day version of that. We have a lot of people that are 100 years old. That's a huge achievement to
awesome.
Make it to 100. So we've had a lot of those, and to see an old person, which I love old people, but to get to be on a billboard, that's something they've never done in their lifetime, I'm sure. And
ever. Sure.
But we've had people wishing, go vote for American Idol contestants.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
And that's like a fan kind of funded community led thing.
Yeah. And then, you have like Jake, who won The Voice. I think it was this last Voice, but he's from the town we live in, Cookeville, Tennessee.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we had a lot of, Go Jake Hoot billboards and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Who was behind those? Do you know who was behind those? Was it you?
The information is there. Yeah.
Can neither confirm nor deny. Yeah. But those are great use. That's exactly what, kind of what we've been talking about here is for those uses. Okay. So if I'm a billboard owner, then is this something is there a big tech integration? Do I need any special technical stuff to be able to do this? Is this something that if I wanted to, if I get a phone call, let's say I get a phone call tomorrow that, hey, I'd like to run a billboard for, my cousin's, whatever, high school graduation. Cool. Go to this link. Is this something where a media owner can now just clear their plate altogether of having to handle these inquiries and just direct people to this other thing where they can self-service and buy the thing, and I don't have to worry about any more birthday messages?
Yeah, that's something that they tell us they do a lot because they don't have to fool with anymore. They just say, go to billboardforme.com and and then it's done. So.
And you don't have to worry about losing it to a competitor because they're buying a billboard that's probably close by to them for a reason. So unless someone's got one, how many billboards do you have? Is there regional coverage? Is it national coverage?
Yeah, it's national. Like? It's kind of all over the place. We're not like going out and with a huge sales team and getting people. We're just kind of growing organically like we do everything else. So, but we've got boards in Tennessee, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama. We've got quite a few in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
A couple in Florida,
So check it out. It sounds like the inventory is always updating. You're adding new stuff. And it's just billboards?
Just billboards. Yeah.
Any plans to, I don't know that there's anything cooler than being on a billboard, but your focus is this. So really it's just adding more billboards to this continues to be, I mean, I think just makes a ton of sense. And I think I especially love the ability for the media owner to just be able to refer those requests out. If for no other reason, giving your team back that capacity while being able to recognize some incremental revenue and also creating more value for your advertisers, more value for your local community. All of those things are certainly worthwhile objectives. And I couldn't see of any reason to not get on board with that. In fact, I'm going to go look and see if maybe I could throw up a billboard for a day close to me. For the sake of it, Shane, something that we talked about in the first conversation that I think is maybe more particularly relevant now than, not that it wasn't relevant then, it's always relevant, but maybe more so now as probably sales folks, our account executives who are out there pounding the streets every day. How do you create new business meetings? How do you create more opportunities for yourself? Something that we've been using TastyAd a ton for at One Screen is spec art. We talked last time about spec art. I think the Shane Hutton hot take was spec art sells billboards. So spec art sells, and it's something that we use TastyAd for just an absolute ton. But I thought maybe we could spend some time talking through some tactical stuff for sales reps that, as we kind of, tighten up the belt loops once more for the second time in 2 years. How do we start to get scrappy? How do we start to get creative? And for me, spec art's always a go-to for starting conversations, but would love to hear your thoughts on what makes great spec art effective, because sometimes there's a risk of me imagining your brand for the first time, and maybe I get it right and maybe I get it wrong, but what's spec art 101? How do you think about spec art?
Yeah. So there's kind of a methodology behind it. I mean, if you want it to be like the 100% best it can be, it starts with research, and that's just looking at the advertiser. Hopefully they've got a website, and a Facebook page. Hopefully. And then, so once you find their website, you can get a good idea of their branding. You'll find their logo and whatever color schemes they use and their fonts and the photos they use and stuff of that nature. But then usually you're going to have just kind of a branding billboard ad as a piece of spec.
Okay. So don't go too specific, just something, take what you know about their brand, what they're putting out there for kind of the public consumption, take that, but imagine it as a billboard versus imagining the campaign you think they should do. Yeah.
If you're going to sell them digital, then you can do sometimes multiple pieces, and then you can maybe feature some products or services they offer. A good place to look is their social media if it's updated, because you'll see exactly what they're currently promoting. So if they've got a sale going on, let's say 25% off running shoes or whatever it is, and they're currently marketing that, and you come in with a billboard, 25% off running shoes, a piece of spec art, that says something that you've done your homework, and that goes a long way.
I like that. So that's even potentially, so I think that's just right out of the gate. Those are two kind of like great ideas and places to start from is, use the known brand to kind of just imagine as a billboard. Don't imagine the campaign you think they should do. But if you wanted to use something that was a little bit more campaign like or offer specific, using what they're currently running, what you already know them to be running as that envisioned. I guess the cautionary tale is really try to avoid imagining the campaign that you wish they would do, and kind of stick to what's known in the spec art stage.
Yeah. If you had, your own idea and something that was a little out in left field, but would be a great campaign, there's nothing wrong with doing that as like an option, but I wouldn't go in there with only that,
Got it. Okay. So establish some credibility with, here's what I know about your brand. Here's what I know about your current promotions. And maybe I took those two things and interpreted them, right? So here's your brand option, here's your offer option, and here's my I imagined what if option.
Sure.
So using the known factors to establish some credibility in that, I think that makes a lot of sense. And okay, so here's a fun one. Sometimes navigating internally, right? Maybe I have a small creative team at my company. What are some best practices, maybe for new sales reps who are new to out of home, or maybe for an established sales rep who's coming into new operation? What are some things to know about effective communication with the creative team? I come from the cloak of like, I try not to give the creative team too much input because I just want the creative team to do what the creative team does. But I know that sometimes not enough input is just as limiting as too much. Maybe offer some best practices for being like an effective communicator with your creative team.
Yeah. So I would say whenever you get, if you're a sales rep and you've got somebody signed up, the advertiser is either going to give you information of what they want, or they're not going to tell you anything. It seems like it's, in my experience, it's been one or the other. Either they know what they want or they don't have a clue. And
Sure.
So, I mean, sometimes it can get confusing when the advertisers are relaying the information to the sales rep and then to the creative team. But I would say just take thorough notes as far as what they want. And then if the creative team has got total freedom to do whatever they want, it's just really, it's up to them to kind of do what we just spoke about. And if they're coming up with the ideas on their own, I would, again, do a branding ad, do something that they're currently advertising, and then maybe come up with something that I think might be a little out of the box, but would work great in out of home.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Of demonstrating the expertise and creative of what makes good out of home creative versus what just might be generally accepted as good creative, right? There's a difference between good out of home creative and just good creative. And then there's obviously a huge difference between bad creative and good out of home creative. So, and in that, there's always the consideration of time. And we've probably seen some version of the where the artist is drawing a picture of Spider-Man and it says the 5-minute version, and like it just kind of looks like a stick figure. And then the 1 hour version, you're like, oh, that's Spider-Man. And then the 1 day version where it's got all the shadows and all the great coloring, and right, there's a scale, right, in terms of how effective the creative is allowed to be. And some of that just has to do with kind of expectations, turnaround time, and things like that.
Absolutely.
From a creative standpoint, how do you think about turnaround times and giving a project enough time to breathe?
Yeah, I mean, we try to stick with maybe a mid ground as far as, on one side, you're just trying to grind something out. On the other, you're going to take, 3 days and do all this research and create like the perfect out of home ad. Obviously, when you're doing a lot of ads, you've got to fall somewhere in between there. So, that's kind of where I think the majority of people try to focus their creativity as far as billboard ads is, a nice mid ground. But and something that we offer as well that out of home companies have used this for is basically just like giving us creative freedom and as much time as we want to really do the research and create, 3 or 4 out of home ads that just really wow an advertiser. And that's something that I really like to do because it's, it's not just design. It's, it's kind of like you're using all different parts of your brain to make an ad and not just the left side, because you're really having to think about who the advertiser is, who's their clients, So you want to really take your time and do things as best you can. And those are always fun. But again, you can't spend 8, 10, 12 hours on one ad design in most cases. So
that I think makes a ton of sense. And the emphasis on research to make great creative. It's not just about sitting out and down and starting to come up with a ton of different designs or come up with the most creative ideas. That it really starts with sound research and understanding the brand. How do they talk? What are the things that they use in the creative? What are the things they don't use? And being really mindful of those elements. I think that's a valuable takeaway. And in terms of TastyAd, that's a service that media owners, in the case of OneScreen, we use, for spec art and some of the different things that we have needs for. But TastyAd is a service as well as a great trade publication and resource of educational materials. You have a service that media owners can use potentially. I don't know. Do you have salespeople that use it too? I'm sure there must be a few out there that use the TastyAd set. Yeah.
I would say a lot of the content we post is geared toward out of home sales professionals. So I mean, like the articles and the stuff we post, I mean, that's from 11, 12 years of at Roland, of just absorbing all of this information and what things that they've learned and things that they do and tried and things that didn't work. But they're able to keep a really high occupancy rate on like their digital signs. So they've learned a few things along the way, and we just try to kind of share that with the industry. So
I love it. That's long before we connected, I was consuming the content and buying the swag for sure. So it's a great resource. Yeah, if you're a seller, it's absolutely something you have to check out. We'll link to all of this in the show notes below, Shane, and anyone who's tuning in, so that you can access that stuff pretty quickly and easily. But as we come into the station here, I want to see, what are you most excited about over the next 12 to 18 months? It could be about out of home, it could be just personally, but what is Shane Hutton most excited about over this next year?
Well, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, I've noticed that the industry is really picked up and has gotten super busy over the past 12 months. And I don't know if that's just where the people that we work with, although we work with people all over the United States, it seems like the industry is doing well. And as far as, the COVID thing and bouncing back, I see nothing but growth from here on out. I don't know what I'm excited about. I mean, I always like the newer technology things, like the 3D billboards they're doing. I know you've seen some of them.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you see the Resident Evil one? That one's been making the rounds this week. That's pretty. I wish that they had done like an experiential activation each time that thing plays. Have some people come out from maybe one of the stores close by. Zombies. That thing. Yeah, the 3D stuff is definitely a lot of fun. I think it's drawing new eyeballs too. If for no other reason, it's good for drawing new eyeballs to the format.
Yeah, Nike's got a really cool one. I mean, if you want to see something a little more polished and showcasing a product, but just like the shoe does all kinds of cool stuff.
It was really good.
I mean, it's got to take an incredible amount of time to create something like that. But
we're gonna have to get someone. If anyone listening to this has any contact that's designed one of these crazy 3D billboards, you know what? Now you've planted the seed. I'm gonna do a little bit of digging myself, and if you know anyone, would love to connect with them, because I think it's fascinating. It's definitely interesting to see. Right, because these are 2D surfaces, right? They are not projecting anything outside of the edges of the screen or anything like that. They're just using viewing angle. It's an optical illusion. It's amazing. And it's an amazing one to watch. For sure.
No other advertising format could be able to do something like that, if you think about it.
There's your hot take. That's it. No one else can do that. You can't do Yeah, I haven't had any zombies crawl out of my TV yet, fortunately.
Yeah.
So until then, Shane Hutton, where are you most active? Where can folks get in touch with you? Where should they follow you? Give folks the Latin long on everything that you're up to.
So you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. Although if I get busy, I might miss a few days in between putting funny memes on there, like you do.
You know, and Shane's the originator of the memes. Everything that I've ever done, I just stole from Shane. You got to follow Shane for those fire memes. Yeah, they're very good. Coming. You see, but if you're not following them, you're gonna miss them, and then you're gonna be a day late and $1 short. So,
find me on LinkedIn that as well. Yeah, Shane Hutton. So
awesome. We'll make sure folks find you there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Shane. Thanks for coming back a second time. We'll do it again soon here. And if you found this episode to be helpful, please share it with someone else who could benefit. Make sure to subscribe and follow wherever you're listening or watching this. Leave a review on all of the platforms. Those help the show grow. And until next time, we'll see you.
Quarter century, I finally came to my senses. I finally got my hand up on the tinted Benz, kid. I see the world clear through my tinted lenses. With the dream and the drive, the possibilities endless. Now print that, send this all the way to Tokyo. Take a trip down south, down to Mexico. Next stop, Shanghai, the world-class trade show. First class all the way, cause that's how we roll. Yeah, call us the rock star businessman. Rockin' shows, we handle business, man. We got our own future in the palm of our hands, cause divided